course that we're going to be working through this semester is Leaders, Mind, and Work. You should have the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And so what we're going to do is we're going to skim across the wave tops of that book, so I'll hit some high points, and then I also have some other material from him that I'll be pulling from in the class, and then you're also going to have homework outside of reading it. Do you love how I use my spiritual gift of encouragement right here? All right, and we're starting like 15 minutes late, so we're going to be cranking through this pretty quickly. I don't have any PowerPoint stuff going on, but I do have blanks on the papers there you can see, and they should be stapled hole punched. So depending on how you organize yourself, you should be good, I hope. What's that?
Oh, I was just laughing that you had it all covered.
I'm just trying to help you out here.
No, I was thinking that
I
was
got griped
awesome.
at first semester. I figured it out, okay? I hear you. I listened to you. You were like, I want holes. I want staples. I want blanks. I want you to talk less. Okay. I'm trying, okay?
I want the blanks filled in.
Yeah, fill in the blanks for me. Okay, I'll just hear it. Just hand you my notes and walk away.
Just stay
All right.
home more something.
You guys have any questions for me before we get diving into this? No? I see some of you are new. Hey, Pastor Jim. I won't do to him what Pastor Tim did to me. He didn't realize he was supposed to end at 7:20, did he?
No.
He always forgets that.
You guys didn't tell him either.
He always forgets.
You did?
It was really
You
good.
said I don't care?
We didn't want him
Okay.
to stop.
He said.
There's truth in that. You signed my paycheck. I'm not going to tell you to shut up, right? Okay. Oh, I forget. This is being filmed. All right.
I'll cut that part.
Thank you, yeah. Ellie will save me more than once with editing. All right, so we're going to start off talking about paradigms and principles. You can see paradigms there. That's your frame of reference. That's the glasses in which you see the world through. A lot of times we see the world not as it is, but as we are. Or sometimes we might see it as we're conditioned to see it. You all right, Pastor Jim? Okay, all right. We're also going to talk about principles. But as you think about paradigms, I want you to think about the drive that you take to work maybe every day, or the drive you take to church, and just think about it. Is there a different way you could go?
Yeah.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever experienced it? Did you get anything new? If you haven't done it, then please do. That might be your homework. If you're like, no, I'm a creature of habit, this is safe, and no, get off the route and figure it out. But then you need to look back and think, okay, what was different about that? What did I experience in that time? Think about if you can see here on your notes, have you ever gone someplace different? You went to a different country, you went to a different region. You go to different places in the United States, you're going to hear people talk different, eat different, drive different, look different, all these different things. Okay? And sometimes we end up in those places with preconceived ideas. That's our paradigm. We think, oh, they're all going to act just like they do in Kansas City. You go to California, that's not the case. You go to Virginia, especially right now, definitely not going to be the case. You need to think about that. Okay, look back at your experiences and think about, okay, what was going on with me? So you need to think about too, how can I shift my paradigm? Sometimes we get in a rut, not sometimes, most times we get in a rut of seeing the world or seeing people or seeing organizations or business or ministry just through the lens that I have. Okay, but you've got to be open to seeing it, right, how can I shift my paradigm and open this up? Now the difference between paradigms and principles, you can see principles, they're universal, they're timeless. You think about fairness, kindness, what are some other principles we have? Integrity. Principles are going to be self-evident. They're going to be natural laws like gravity. Is that making sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, they're tried, they're true. It's not necessarily based on you. It's based on principle. So if you flip your page over, you'll see Covey has 7 principles. Okay, so what we're doing right now is basically just an overview of this book. So you can get an idea of where we're going to head over the next 13 weeks together and some of the things that you're going to encounter as you read this book. If you haven't been here before, I should probably just preface it and say, if you're like, well, I'm not really a leader. Well, I had to filter myself for a moment there. You are a leader, okay? And the way I define leadership is a leader has followers. So somebody is following you, and the question is, what are you teaching them? Okay? So everybody in this room is a leader to some degree, to some level, and somebody is following you, whether you know it or not. Okay, whether you've chosen to be a leader for those people or not, you're a leader. Somebody's following you. Some people are forced to follow you. Haven't helped them, right? That happens sometimes. You get into a role that you didn't want, that you maybe don't even need, that you're not even qualified for, and there's people following you. Okay, just think about that. So you are a leader. So as this, my whole premise, everything that I come at you with is going to be under the premise of you're a leader, you're impacting somebody, let's do it better. Simple as that. All right, so 7 principles from Covey. First one, continuous learning. So that's your first point, continuous learning. And this is the discipline of education. If you're in this room, then obviously you're adhering to that principle already. You're saying, yeah, I want to continue learning. I want to continue expanding my knowledge. The second one is service. That's giving to other people. Hopefully you're in here with the mentality of what can I take in that I can push back out and help other people with? What's going to make me better so that I can help them be better? Third one, staying positive. Optimism. The fourth is affirmation of others. Treat people as individuals who have great potential. What is affirmation? Can somebody give me like a one-line answer for affirmation? An attaboy. Okay. What types of affirmation are there? I'm not looking for right answers. Just give me like.
Affirmation of something someone does.
Okay, and how would I affirm that? What are some ways in which I could affirm?
Good job, thank you.
Okay, so that would be a verbal.
Yeah, verbal.
A bonus.
What did you say?
Physically.
Okay, so I could physically
Give them a
affirm.
hug.
Give them a hug. Yeah, for some people that might not be an affirmation. It might be like assault, right?
Financial.
Yeah. Okay, so a financial affirmation. You're laughing at me. It's serious.
No, I
right?
was thinking of drinking whenever you said it was assault. I was spit it back out.
Oh, okay. So if you're giving somebody an unwanted hug, regardless of their gender, same or opposite of yours, it could be considered assault, just so you know. Okay. So we can affirm people verbally, we can affirm them physically, right? High fives,
Handshake.
financially. So just think through ways, and this comes as a leader of knowing the people that are following you. Okay, know the people that are following you. Some people, like, they don't need much affirmation. Okay, it might be a text. It could be a polo. It could be you actually put something they did up on social media. Okay, so some of this comes with, you gotta see it through the filter of who is following me and how do I affirm them. Okay, all right, number 5, balance. This is the ability to identify our various roles and spend appropriate time in each. So balance is the word there. And as a leader, you got to think about what are the different roles that you have. I was on the phone today and talking about my different roles with somebody, and he was like, well, you're a dad, you're a son, you're an uncle, you're a nephew, you're a pastor, you're a leader, you're an NCO. You're like, pay attention to what roles you're operating in, and then you have to know where the balance is. And I had a great leader tell me years ago, because I was like, how do you find balance? And he kind of chuckled at me, right? This is a guy in his 50s, well-known CEO, and not Mike Perry, for those of you who know him. This is a different guy. And he goes, he said, it's kind of a ruse. He said, there is no way. He's like, because most of us are balancing maybe 5, 6, 8 roles, and you have one fulcrum. So, well, how do you do it? He says, sometimes you have to move the fulcrum. Oh. Yeah, sometimes you got to do things differently. So in that, pay attention to the roles that you have as a leader, and then think about how am I going to balance all this? Okay, because there's a lot going on. And sometimes you go through seasons, and sometimes you have to move the fulcrum over a little bit closer to family because it needs more of you, or a little bit closer to ministry, whatever it is. But all of us are individuals here. And God's wired us all differently, and He's also given us different tasks and assignments and abilities. All right, 6. I like this one. Spontaneity. If you can't spell it, just do it phonetically. You know, you can get the idea there. And serendipity. Experience life with a sense of adventure. Put some adventure in your life. For some of you, that might mean taking a different route to work tomorrow. That might be adventures. Go through the triangle at 7:40 in the morning.
Thank you.
On a motorcycle. That's an adventure.
In the
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be a real adventure. Yeah, dress warm, okay? It's okay to be spontaneous. It's also okay to find some serendipity in your life, okay? Number 7, this is a big one. Consistent self-renewal and self-improvement. If you treat it the way most people treat taking vitamins or going to the dentist, it's not going to work very well for you. Okay, you want consistent. Okay, consistent self-renewal, and that's going to look different for you than it is for me. I had a consultant help me develop basically what we call my replenishment cycle, and we've talked about this in the past. And my wife has gotten really good at knowing that replenishment cycle and knowing when I'm outside of it. She'd be like, you need to go away with that guy for a little while and just have some fun. I'm like, well, I'm so busy. She's like, stop proving it, just go. Or sometimes she'll be like, why don't you just take a break and go somewhere with some noise canceling headphones on and recharge for a couple minutes, because I don't think everybody's enjoying you right now. Okay. So that's part of my replenishment cycles. I need to have non-competitive fun. You've heard me talk about this, so I'm just trying to give you some examples you can hold on to. You need to figure out what that looks like for you.
What's a gun range?
So yeah, go to the shooting range, sit and read a book, go to the coffee shop. I don't know what it is. Some people go to work out. Actually, so during prayer week, talked to a guy that he was fasting from the gym. And if you know this guy, like gets up at 4 a.m., goes to the gym every single day. And it was a true fast for him, because he said, I'm going to fast from the gym, and I'm just going to read my Bible and pray during that time. And you talk about that was like a painful fast for this guy. But it was also a time where he was outside of that replenishes him. So we're going to say it's consistent. You have to know yourself, know your schedule, and then build it in. And like Ellie is one of our residents, she can tell you, I tell everybody, calendarize it. Show me your calendar, and you're going to show me what's important to you. If it's not on your calendar, it's probably not important. Okay, it's like looking at your bank account. If I can see your bank account and I see where you spend money, I'm going to know real fast what's important to you. Quick Trip iced tea? Okay, that would be Pastor Donovan. Yeah, Miss Kelly, they're rolling. Okay, you just see. Okay, so figure out what works for you. All right, we'll keep on rolling here. The next is this diagram, 7 habits overview, where basically we're going to contrast effective people versus ineffective people. So the first one, proactive. Effective people are proactive, and they do more than just take initiative. Initiative is that blank. Okay, they're responsible for their own choices. They have the freedom to choose based on their principles and values, because they've already established them. They know who they are, they know what they stand for, they know what they're working toward, and their moods, their circumstances, their emotions in that moment are not what drive them in their decision making. Okay, these people are your change agents. You contrast that with the reactive person. They don't take responsibility for their own actions. You go talk to somebody who's reactive, and they start pointing fingers at everything. Circumstances, other people, my past, my history. They have all these things that they can point to. Okay, and typically they have a victim mentality. All right, second one. I'm huge on this one. Big, big. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, effective people commit themselves and their organizations to the principles, relationships, and purposes that matter most. Ineffective people have no vision. They lack vision. Without a vision, then you don't know where you're going. There's scripture about that. If there is no vision, the people perish. Okay, ineffectiveness lands right in there. Okay, if you don't have a mission statement, if you don't know what you're living life for, then you're going to live according to society's values. So you think about society's values, and as you see, let's just say American society, and as you see our laws change, if you say, well, I'm just going to guide my life according to American law, you're going to live a life of complete debauchery. Because there's tons of stuff you can do that are not illegal, but if you don't have guiding principles in your life, then you're going to find some somewhere, and usually it's going to be at the nth degree of whatever are imposed around you. Most times that's going to end up being laws or rules of whatever organizations you're in. So to be effective, you want to live by those principles. And you say, well, I don't know what those are. Well, then there you go. That's why we're here. Let's figure them out. All right, begin with the end in mind. So big. So big. Don't launch into something. Please don't launch into something without having an end goal in mind. Start at the end, work your way backwards to where you are today, and now you're going to have a pretty good map of what's going on. If you just get into something, it's like walking into a house and saying, let's remodel the kitchen today. And you just start ripping stuff out, and then you go and you buy nice stuff that you like. It's not going to fit. It doesn't work. It's going to be ugly, and you're going to be very, very disappointed and broke at the end of it. Okay, don't lead your life that way. Don't lead your ministry that way. Don't lead your teams, your organizations, or your businesses that way. Get to the end, figure out, here's where we want to go, and then work yourself backwards. Please, I really, really want to help you with that. You just heard Pastor Tim talk about this next one this past Sunday. Put first things first. Organize and execute. Execute is going. Organize It's one thing to organize, but it's another thing to go and do it. So organize and execute around the most important priorities you have. Okay, live and be driven by the most valued principles. The ineffective people, they put second things first and they're in crisis management all the time. If you are that person, don't admit it right now. All of us know somebody like that. You see these people go from crisis to crisis to crisis, or maybe the business that they run, or the ministry that they run, or the thing that they're trying to start is always in crisis. Okay? You're dealing with a reactive person, someone who hasn't figured out what the principles are, someone who hasn't figured out what the end is and worked their way backwards. Okay? They're driven by the tyranny of the urgent. All right, next one, think win-win. Mutual benefit is what we're looking at here. Mutual benefit. Okay, benefit is a key word right here. Anybody read the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss? He was the #1 hostage negotiation person for the United States, CIA and stuff like that. No? Great book. Anyway, if any of you have to do, all of us negotiate all day long with different people, whether it's your spouse, your siblings, your coworkers, your kids, whatever. Great book. So Never Split the Difference is the name of it. Chris Voss is the author. And one of the examples he uses is a lot of times, and you're going to see it here on the other side, where it says think win-lose or lose-win, like, hey, we'll just meet in the middle and we'll compromise and all this stuff. He used the example, so if I'm getting ready for church on Sunday, and I'm thinking I should wear black shoes, but my wife says, well, no, you should wear brown shoes, that's going to look better. If I meet in the middle, that means I'm going to show up at church wearing one black shoe and one brown shoe. That would be compromise, right? Well, I'm going to make you happy and me happy. Well, in the end, if I do that, really nobody's happy because I'm going to look ridiculous. Okay, so when you're thinking win-win, you're thinking mutual benefit. Okay, how are we both going to walk out of this winning? I had the opportunity to sit through a multi-million-dollar negotiation. So a friend of mine is this big-time real estate guy, and this property was exchanging hands, and it was amazing to watch the groups in the room be collegial. They literally opened up their books with each other and said, there's one group over here saying, I want to sell this, and another group over here saying, we want to buy that. But there was a gap. There's a gap, millions of dollars of gap. And to watch them work and understand each other was amazing. It was the most amazing win-win I've ever seen, where people walked away saying, that's a good deal. I'm glad we made this deal. And it was more of a partnership than it was against each other. And that's what you're going to see in an ineffective person. They walk into this saying, I'm going to win and you're going to lose. Or they're going to do a scarcity mindset, and they're constantly playing defense because they're like, you're trying to beat me and take everything away from me. And that's your blank right there, scarcity mentality. A lot of times these people are not going to communicate well, and they make withdrawals from other people's emotional bank accounts. They're not life-giving, they're life-sucking, okay? They're life-stealing. When you get done working with these people, you need to go and recharge, and you don't want to go back and be around them again. And I said, like, they're very defensive. All right, the next one. On the effective person, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this takes consideration and courage. Courage is the blank there. It takes courage to sit there and listen to somebody else to try and understand what's going on. Because it might mean you did something wrong, or you misunderstood something before. So it takes consideration, so you have to consider who you're listening to or who you're talking to or negotiating with, showing them respect and honor. And you have to be courageous enough, because effectiveness lies in balancing or blending whatever you're hearing. Okay, and this is where true relationship happens. The ineffective person, they seek first to be understood. They're the ones that come into it. They're not asking questions. They're just making statements. Well, I, blah, blah, blah. Because you, blah, blah, blah. Or they, or them, or that happened. And they're constantly just talking. And it's mostly I's, me's, and if there's any blame to the cast, it's coming outward. And they want you to understand their point of view first. Okay? So they state first their point of view. And they base it solely on their stuff. Okay? These are also the leaders. You have to understand that we're talking about ineffective people that can be leaders. So you have ineffective leaders that live on that column over there, the right side, that you might know them, you might be around them, it might have been you in the past. I know I've done this where I blindly give answers to something. If there's a problem, poof. You got a problem, I'll solve it. Bang, fixed. Well, what I fail to do maybe is understand what was actually happening there and What I should have done is stopped, listened, asked some questions, and found out, oh, let's fix the root instead of just this thing right here. Okay, this would be like, so my wife is the dream team coordinator for Portico. Let's say the line's too long, and someone walks up, and they're like, the line is too long, you need to fix it. She was like, give away all the donuts. That's a blind prescription. Make the line happy and maybe a little shorter, but the real problem might be, oh, John's on the register? That's the problem. All you have to do is ask some questions. What's going on? Sometimes it could be as simple as 3 questions. In Toyota, they call it the 5 whys. When you're presented with something, you ask why. Okay, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because the person down the line here doesn't have the right tool. Why don't they have the right tool? And eventually it'll lead you back to, okay, here's the root. So 5 whys is another thing that we'll just throw out there. All right, next block here, synergize. Effective people seek a third alternative. It may not be your answer, it may not be my answer, it might be that there's a third alternative out there. And synergy, what is synergy? How would you guys describe synergy? What would you say?
In sync.
2 or more people, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In sync.
In sync? Trying to be fun about music now. Boy band fan there. All right. Yeah, so when people get in sync, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, when you put like 2 things together, like 2 horses, each one could pull 1,000 pounds together, they can pull 2,500.
There you go.
They're synchronized.
Yeah, so that's synergy. You think about geese, maybe you've heard, they fly 40% further and faster when they fly together. It's not like some weird aerodynamics happen, it's just that they're flying together, and that's synergy. Okay, we can create more, and you can see it here in this block, 1 + 1 = 3. On the flip side, ineffective leaders, they compromise, they have fight or flight, and the blank right there is it's ineffective. It's ineffective. Okay, for them, the whole is less than the sum. And there's a lot of times there's fear, there's scarcity, there's insecurity there from these ineffective leaders. Sometimes it's just a lack of awareness. They haven't had anybody say, hey, excuse me, can I help you please? This is what's happening, and I think our team would do better if this. So you get that where they're trying to make everybody be like them, because that's what they know, and that's where they're comfortable. Is they're comfortable with this box, and if everybody fits in that box, and they're comfortable, but that's not effective. Okay, an effective leader is going to be open to, oh, you have a very different paradigm than I do about this. Let's sit down, help me understand what's going on here, and I need you to understand where I'm coming from, and let's come up with a great solution, because mine might be okay and yours might be good, but that's not going to be good enough for what we need here. So let's go. Pastor Tim and I have this all the time. We see the world through very, very different lenses. Very different lenses. And we have a great relationship that we can sit and I might say, hey, here's what I'm looking at, Bubba. He's like, well, have you thought about this? Ooh, no, I didn't think about that. That is good. And then you get Jim Lee in the room. Boy, you talk about a triangle. That's like, and if you guys know Pastor Jim Lee, I mean, you put the 3 of us in the room, you're coming from really different angles. But we get synergy, we get different paradigms, and God uses all those things as a team. So think through that as a leader. All right, the last one, sharpen the saw. Here's the thing, you're the saw, okay? The blank there is constantly renew themselves. Effective leaders constantly renew themselves. Earlier we said consistently, it's all those things, consistently, constantly. And you gotta remember, you are an integrated being. We're integrated beings, so physically, socially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You think about what you can go through that can affect you in all those different areas, okay? If you cut your finger, you might have a physical response to that. You might have an emotional response of, oh, some people might have the emotional response, I've seen this, we're like, oh, I'm so dumb, I'm such a failure. I'm like, you just got a paper cut, where is this coming from? But you see them have this deep emotional response where they're not even crying because they're bleeding, they're crying because it's the emotional pain behind it. So just think, we're emotional, we're spiritual, we're physical, we have a mental being as well, we're integrated, okay? So as you're sharpening yourself and you're keeping yourself healthy, it can't just be in one area. It's all those things combined and they all affect you. Okay, the ineffective leader, they wear out the saw. Okay, they don't have a program, that's the blank, they don't have a program for self-renewal or self-improvement. They're not getting better. They're not getting healthier. They're using themselves up, and they're probably using most people around them up as well.
You
still like a work,
I'm sorry?
that we're out.
A program?
Program.
They like a program? All right, if you go to page 5, there's a Venn diagram there on your next page. You can see,
On page 2, John, I didn't catch what you had for reactive side.
on page 2, I'm trying to get back to my notes. Are there. Take responsibility. There you go. See, that's good teamwork right there. Thank you. Any others? No? Good? Any questions, comments, snide remarks so far?
I had one boss, he would say, if you went in with a problem, he would ask you, well, how do you think we should go about fixing this?
Yeah.
And
Now, there's
then-
a flip side to that too. Some leaders are going to do that because they don't want to lead or they don't know how to lead.
He was a good leader, but he just wanted to see what
There you
your
go.
thoughts
Yeah,
were
so that is a good leader.
doing it, and then he would comment on what you said and whether he want to bring somebody else in or if what you two came up with was a good solution
Good.
for the problem.
You have a good example to go by then. All right, so let's keep rolling. Page 5, that Venn diagram, you can see where you take knowledge, skills, and your desire, and where those three things intersect, that's where you're going to create your habits. Okay, so knowledge is what to do or why you do it. The skill, that's how you're doing things. The desire, that's your motivation. And when those all come together, you're going to form habits. And you're like, well, I don't have any habits at all. Okay, that's all right. That's called self-awareness. You're like, I don't have good habits that are driving me towards something. Okay, well, look at this and see, is there something, do you lack a desire? Do you lack skills? Do you lack knowledge? Or do you lack, I've never even thought about this before? Okay, there's no right or wrong here. We're all different. We're all in different places. So have self-awareness. It's okay to ask yourself those questions and start exploring yourself in this and asking God, hey God, what am I missing here? Help me. People around you that know you, that care about you, they're going to be willing to invest in this. All right, and so I've got some work for you here. We're not going to do it tonight, but this is part of your homework. So if you keep on looking down there, list 2 habits you have, one good, one bad. If you know those right off the top of your head, I think it's there at the bottom of page 5. There's some blanks. List 2 habits you have, one good, one bad. And then on the following pages, there's just some room for you to explore yourself a little bit. On page 6, write the skills, knowledge, and desires that are connected with those habits. Because some of us have some knowledge, we have some skills and some desires towards a negative that create bad habits for us. So be aware of that as well. Okay, here's my bad habits, and here's the knowledge, the skills, and desires that are driving me into those habits. And then the next question there is, are you willing to do what it takes to break the bad habit? And that's up to you. You might be like, no, I'm not. Well, okay. The next question there would be, what's the reason? And run yourself through 5 whys. Why don't I want to break this? Because da 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 da. Well, why do I feel like that? Because this and this and this. Okay. And then the last 2 questions, you might have to go pay $100 an hour to a professional therapist to figure out. And I'm not joking. I'm being dead serious. Okay. You might run to some whys and be like, I don't know, and hit a block. Well, when you hit a block, you ask for help. When the car is broke, you go to the mechanic. When your teeth need help, you go to the dentist. Okay, when your brain and heart are not connecting, go to a therapist, go to a psychologist, go to somebody that can help you figure it out. Because if not, you're just going to stay stopped right there and you're not going to go any further. So you're going to go from being, I'm effective, wham! That's the limit of my effectiveness right there. Okay. You can keep going down that page. Write down 3 things you'll do to begin the process to start breaking that bad habit if you want to. If you want to. All right, we're going to keep on going. We're going too fast. I'm trying to cram a lot at you here. Part of this was to see how far we would get to because I didn't time all this. All right, look at page 7. You'll see the maturity continuum. Sounds big. It's actually pretty logical. If you look at the bottom half of that, right there in between dependence and independence, you'll see the first 3 habits. And these are the ones that we talked about earlier. Okay, if you're down low on the maturity continuum, and it's okay to be there. You just need to have some awareness around it. Your independence, that means you need others to help you get to where you're going and help you get the things that you desire. So you're dependent right now on other people. As you move through habits 1, 2, and 3, habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, put first things first. You're going to experience some private victories there. And you'll move yourself towards independence. Very American, right? So independence, you get what you want through your own effort. If I do this, then I get there. Okay? That's based on you. As you move into habits 4, 5, and 6, you're going to get to a point of interdependence where you can cooperate with other people to accomplish even more and get you to where, whatever that begin with the end in mind is, wherever that end is, you're going to need other people to get there. So habits 4, 5, and 6 are what are going to help you get there. So you have to be thinking win-win. You have to be seeking first to understand. And you're going to have to work with other people to synergize. And then habit 7 encapsulates all of this. Okay, sharpen the saw. That's very much a continuum. And here's the thing. Sometimes you get knocked off of this. Because you might stop sharpening the saw. And let's just say here at Graceway, you end up spending 14 days fasting from things that you really like and enjoy and provide sustenance to you, and you get really tired, and you're not working through your replenishment cycle because you don't have time because you're coming to your church every night after a hard day at work, and then you're getting up early and doing it all over again, and here you are 10 days into it, and you haven't done your workout, and you haven't had your alone time, and you haven't had fun. Well, you stop sharpening the saw, which means maybe at work you're not creating as much synergy. And maybe you're not understanding people as much because you're tired and hungry. You see, okay, so I'm explaining my 14 days of prayer, right? So, okay. Most of our staff will attest by like day 10. I'm like, what? Do you have chicken? Then leave. Like, yes, I was hungry, right? So I was having trouble understanding people because my brain was like, I'm tired and hungry. And it was hard for me to think win-win because sometimes I just wanted to be done. And you see what's happening here? I stopped sharpening the saw and I started whittling myself back down, all the way back down. So, okay, I gotta get proactive here. Gotta get out in front of some things. I have to make sure I'm paying attention to what's at the end. I'm gonna put first things first. Any of you parents, you can go through this in less than 60 seconds. Okay, you can go from habit 7 all the way back down to dependence real fast. Okay, if you're married, you're in a relationship with anybody, all right, you have a roommate. You can go from like, I'm in a great place, we have such synergy going on, to poof, I'm in very low maturity right now. Okay? I'm gonna try and be proactive and not murder you because I don't want to go to jail, so I'm starting with the end in mind. Okay, that might be as far as you can get sometimes, okay? Hopefully you're catching on. A lot of this is about your own self-awareness, okay? It's all about you recognizing, where am I at? Even right now, looking at this and saying, okay, let me take one of my roles, parent, spouse, ministry leader, college student, resident, whatever it is, where are you at in this right now? You might say, well, I'm doing pretty good with habits 1, 2, and 3. Okay, well, if you look at those are all about you and you interfacing with yourself. Habits 4, 5, and 6 are all outward. Okay, that's you interfacing with other people. So just have awareness about that. And as you interface with other people, you might need to recognize, ooh, I'm not creating a lot of synergy here, and I'm not really listening to people, and I'm not creating win-win situations here. Okay, well, that means you're probably back down on the latter half of that, and you need to focus on self for a little bit so that then you can get yourself back up to working with other people around you.
But if you're in different things, then you're gonna be in different places in all of them. So you might be dependent in one area, you might be independent in another area, you might be in the middle someplace.
That's right. And that's where the self-awareness piece is coming in. And that's why you want to know your roles. Think about what roles you're in. And think about where you might be in the continuum with those various roles. You can work yourself through the process in this and work backwards and see, and just start assessing yourself. Am I creating synergy? Yes or no? Nope. Okay. What about the next one? What about the next one? And get down and figure out where you're at. You might be clicking right now in all areas of your life. That's awesome. Praise God for that. But yeah, know your roles. Because in different areas, you might be doing different things. So you could be creating synergy in one area of your life, let's say your business or your ministry, and you're trying to interact with your adult children, and you're back at like square one. You can live in both of those things. Yeah, like, yes. Okay, your spiritual life, think about that. Are you creating synergy? You, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit speaking to you, like, or are you back in like square one where, okay, I need to be proactive and calendarize, I'm gonna read my Bible tomorrow morning. You can apply this to just you, and then eventually it moves up into other areas, so. All right, well, you guys are good, we can keep rolling. We have 2 minutes left. Can we press hard for 2 minutes? Good? All right, let's go. All right, so we're diving right into habit 1. We're going to talk about this. And some of the questions and things that I have in here are not in the book that you have. So this is all stuff that's coming from Stephen Covey, but not necessarily that you're reading. That's why I want to be able to present it to you now, and also just get you some headspace so when you read it again, sometimes you need to read a good book 2 or 3 times before it really sinks in. And sometimes a book like this you need to read like every year, 3 years, 5 years, something like that. I had a great professor one time say, how can you call a book good if you've only read it once? Excellent standard. Excellent standard. So, all right, habit 1, be proactive. Take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your life. 2, stop blaming. I'm not saying you don't have things that you can look back on and say that impacted me, that turned me, that was a turning point in my life, but don't blame it. And then this is some of the stuff self-reflective. Who do you blame? What circumstances do you blame? Only you can answer that. You don't have to do it right now, but it's something to look at. Okay, and then below that you see proactive people are response-able. Okay, you're able to respond to the things around you. Proactive people use proactive language, like I can, I will, I prefer. Let's go through this again. I can, I will, I prefer. The reactive person says things like I can't do that, or I must. That could be changed to I have to. And then they say things like, well, if only this was different, or if only that had been this way, or if only you had done your part, I'd be able to do mine, right? There's that blame part to it. Okay, so some of these questions for you to look through and answer over the course of the next week. What's the situation you were in recently where you responded reactively? You reacted. You weren't being proactive. You didn't have a plan for it. Think about what you said. How could you have responded differently in that? And then what are you unhappy about, and what is the stimulus for it? So what piece of that situation are you unhappy about? And what's the cause of that? What's the stimulus right there for it? And I want to give you this acronym, the MASTER acronym, because this is going to help you. First word is measure. Measure how important the situation is to you on a scale of 1 to 5. So you find yourself in a situation, figure out, is this a level 5? Are we at like DEFCON 5 here? Somebody's getting ready to push a red button and we're going to blow this thing up? Or is this like a level 1? Like, oh, somebody dropped a water bottle on my floor. You know what I mean? Like for me, that's a level 1. For you, that might be a level, I've been to some houses, that's a level 5. Like, I'm running, okay? But you have to measure the situation for you, okay? Second, assess your initial reaction. There's 2 S's in the middle and 2 S's at the end. Just helping you out. I had a first-year teacher one time. This guy hands in his lesson plans. He's also a football coach. I'm not making generalizations, just telling you he's a good friend of mine. He abbreviated the word assignment in all of his lesson plans. Just pushed them all back. I'm like, you're going to have to fix that before you hand that out to all the parents. He was like, took him a moment, all right? So assess your initial reaction. Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it fear? And I'll go ahead and tell you, anger is a secondary emotion. I'm going to say it again. Anger is usually a secondary emotion. If you get yourself into a situation, all of a sudden you feel angry, and you're powering up, and you're ready to come at somebody verbally, physically, whatever it is, emotionally, that you're going to come back and hit their button, You need to back up a little bit whenever you review that situation, figure out, why did I get angry? For guys, it's typically disrespect. I felt disrespected, and then you get angry. Okay? It could be, I'm not getting my way, and now I'm angry about it. I don't know what it is. I'll just say anger is typically a secondary emotion. Oh, I lied. I went 3 minutes past, I'm sorry. Oh, no, man. See, it happens. There I was. Point at Pastor Tim. All right. You don't get the rest tonight. We'll save it for next time. You guys can remind me. I want you to get a break before Pastor Tim comes in here. I'm pretty sure he's going to break. All right. You guys have questions for me?
What do we
Anything
need
you
to
need
read?
What's that?
How much should we read?
How much should you read? I don't think I mapped that out. Everybody reads at different paces, and so I'm not trying to like.
Read this by this month.
Yes. So great question over here. Tyler's asking, how much do we read? Well, you guys have a lot to read, so I'm gonna let you manage your own reading. What I'm trying to do is get stuff into your brain that's gonna, I guess, connect with what you're reading. But don't feel like you have to read a chapter per week. We're gonna pretty much try and cover like one habit every week or two. Stretch it out a little bit.